Hey, how's it going guys? I hope you're all having a great day. Today we're going to be doing another video where I just talk about Doom the Dark Ages, and more specifically, we're going to talk about whether or not this game is a flop. So I came across this article when I was scrolling on Twitter. Is this Doom the Dark Ages not resonating, or is it PC Game Pass gaining real traction? Now the truth is, a lot of people don't use PC Game Pass for some reason, so I don't think the reason for this is PC Game Pass, I gotta be honest. I think there are a lot of other factors at play here. Doom the Dark Ages had the lowest Steam launch numbers in series history. Is it suffering from the Game Pass effect? At just over 30,000 concurrent players, Doom the Dark Ages even had half as many as games like Dragon Age the Veilguard. Well, to be fair, Dragon Age was dormant for like 10 years before Veilguard came out, whereas Eternal came out 5 years ago. So it was less of a wait for a sequel to Doom than it was Dragon Age. And I think Dragon Age just has more widespread appeal, I gotta be honest. Well, Veilguard didn't, but you know what I mean. Doom the Dark Ages launched this past week to excellent reviews. And I have to agree with those reviews. I am having an absolute blast with the game personally. Our own Samuel Tolbert gave it a perfect score, noting the refreshing twist on traditional Doom gameplay mechanics and a stellar art direction. However, there's a little gloom alongside the doom. The game reached just over 31,000 concurrent players as of this past weekend, which is 13,000 fewer than the original release of Doom in 2016. It's also less than a third of the total players Doom Eternal managed to reach. However, neither of these games were released on Game Pass. Is the Xbox subscription service to blame for its lesser performance on Steam? After all, why pay $70 when you can get it for $12 on PC Game Pass? I gotta be honest with you, I don't think it has anything to do with Game Pass. I think there are a lot of other factors at play, like I said before, and if Game Pass really did hurt sales this much, then how come Stalker 2 got like 200,000 concurrent players despite being on Game Pass? Why did Palworld get millions of players despite being on Game Pass? Game Pass is a great option, but people who really like a game will often just straight up buy it. And this also goes for people who know they're gonna like a game. Like, I knew I would like Doom the Dark Ages, so I just outright bought it. I guess that could be part of the reason it's not performing as well as we expected. However, it is definitely not the full picture. You then ask why anyone would buy the game for $70 when you can subscribe to Game Pass for $12 a month and get access to it. And the answer to that question is some people would just rather the one-time buy, and they don't want to have to worry about paying a subscription every single month to continue playing. A look at Clair Obscur and Oblivion. While these aren't the same genre, both games were released within days of one another while coming to Game Pass. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered managed to reach a concurrent player count of over 216,000 players, while Clair Obscur Expedition 33 hit 145,000. But what do those two games have in common? They are cheaper than your standard AAA video game. While Doom the Dark Ages is quite pricey, I think it's either $70 or $80 in the US. Canadian, it's $90 before tax. And I can't remember where I read this, but I'm pretty sure I read an article a while ago that stated that increasing the price of video games up to $70, it caused them to make less profits. These games still hold audiences of 40,000 and 60,000 players, respectively. So what gives? A smaller player count could be due to a myriad of things. While it's true that no former Doom game has been released on Game Pass, gamers also split over the latest Melee direction. Yeah, as someone who's put like 37 hours into Doom the Dark Ages, I can definitely say it's very divisive and it's not going to be for everyone. Not only that, but it feels very different from Doom 2016 and Eternal, which is personally something that I like, but I know a lot of people won't. And there's a portion of gamers out there that do not like parrying and blocking mechanics in games. That's just the unfortunate reality, man. Doom the Dark Ages also has a forced ray tracing requirement, something a lot of GPUs may be unable to keep up with on Steam given recent hardware surveys. Now, this is the main reason I think the game has a lower player count. When you go to Steam, you see the minimum requirements to even play this game is a Core i7 10700K or better. That's quite wild. And a 2060 Super or better, which the 2060 Super is not super high end, but I know people on like GTX cards can't play this game, and that's for simply 1080p 60 FPS low. A lot of people can run this game, but they report that it runs badly for them. This could likely be because of Denuvo as well, which is an anti-piracy software that causes performance loss. But I simply do not think that forced ray tracing was the right move for this game. I think there's a lot of people who wanted to play this game, but it doesn't run well for them, or they can't play the game because of the ray tracing requirement. And ray traced reflections aren't really something you're gonna notice in a game like Doom anyway. Like, it's a very fast-paced game. To make matters worse, Clair Obscur and Oblivion are both still popular, possibly taking potential gamers away from Doom. They're busy with other amazing games, so why jump ship immediately? Personally, I feel like a little bit of everything is working against Doom, with one primary reason rising above the rest: gameplay. I love Doom the Dark Ages so far, but it's not hitting the same way the other games did. The previous entry's music, gunplay, and rapid movement are missing. Replaced with a more methodical, heavy-hitting smashing, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not what I'm personally looking for when playing Doom. Instead, I want my Doom to come with rock-heavy, precision-based FPS gameplay. How about you? Do you know why Doom the Dark Ages is hitting a lower player count on Steam than its previous entries? Well, I think Eternal is kind of an outlier, like from Doom 2016 and Doom the Dark Ages, because that game came out right when the lockdown started in 2020. So obviously back then, people had more free time on their hands. And gaming back in 2020 became super popular. Like, all the gaming channels on YouTube were getting shit tons of views. Like, it was a huge, like, explosion in popularity. But obviously, as everything opens up again, people just lose interest in gaming, because the only reason they were interested in it in the first place was because they had nothing else to do. It's also worth keeping in mind Denuvo. A lot of people will just not buy games with Denuvo. They will wait for Denuvo to get removed, or they will wait for the game to get cracked and they will play it without Denuvo. That is another way to look at it. And another thing that I didn't bring up is the fact that it was kind of a fragmented release. There was one release for the early access and then another release after for everyone else. Now, overall, do I think the game flopped? Personally, I don't think it straight up flopped, because the number is pretty comparable to 2016, and 2016 came out when Game Pass wasn't really that popular, or not even a thing, I don't think. It didn't have forced ray tracing, and you have to remember, when Doom 2016 came out, it had been like over 10 years since people saw a Doom game. So overall, I don't think the Dark Ages is doing abysmal, but me personally, I was expecting like 50,000 concurrent players. I think the Dark Ages will get a spike in players once Denuvo is removed personally, and I hope this game does well, because it genuinely is a fun game. I put out a review of the game where I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a little bit better than 2016, but not as good as Eternal. But this game definitely does remind me of those classic Xbox 360 games, man. It's got a darker, more serious art style, it's edgy, it's got lots of blood, and it's just action-packed, man. But that's gonna do it for me today. Alright, never mind. It looks like we actually got an update before I decided to post this video. I'm editing this in, like, after the next day. It turns out this game is at 3 million players. Now, that is players, not sales. That is worth keeping in mind. But that is a lot faster than Eternal got 3 million players. And Jez Corden, the guy who made the article that we went over today, made a follow-up article. So we're gonna go through that one as well. Doom the Dark Ages reaches 3 million players, 7 times faster than Doom Eternal. The latest Doom game has already attracted over 3 million players since its recent launch. Now, either one of two things happened here. A lot of people are playing it on Game Pass, or a lot of the sales come from console players. I'm hoping it's the second one, because that's better for the company. We know that just because a game succeeds in Game Pass, it doesn't make it an automatic success. I mean, look at Hi-Fi Rush. Developer id Software and publisher Bethesda Softworks' new first-person shooter, Doom the Dark Ages, has already reached 3 million players since launch. The official Bethesda Blue Sky account shared the news on Tuesday, additionally confirming that Doom the Dark Ages reached this milestone 7 times faster than its 2020 predecessor, Doom Eternal, making the biggest ever launch for id Software. Of course, as an Xbox first-party game, Doom the Dark Ages also launched directly into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass, an important factor that would naturally impact how quickly players flocked to each game. Why would you share the news to Blue Sky? Who the fuck uses Blue Sky? I mean, seriously. That app is deader than King Tut. Doom the Dark Ages is also available on Battle. Yeah, we're not even gonna go over fucking Battle.net. Nobody uses that. Looking ahead, id Software will be updating the PC version of Doom the Dark Ages to support path tracing in June, bringing better visuals for players with the hardware to run it. Yeah, they're definitely focusing on the wrong thing here. They should be focusing on making the game run better, not look better. It's Doom after all. I got nothing against path tracing existing in the game, but I don't think they should be focusing on that over performance. Now, I don't really have anything to add to the final 2 paragraphs of this article. He's just talking about a DLC being added and his review. So we're not going to go over that. I'm kind of strapped for time here. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you didn't, you can leave a dislike and an angry comment, and yeah, peace.